November 16th, 2021, regular meeting for Huron City School Board. You could call the roll.
Mrs. Green?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mrs. Mass?
Here.
Mr. Slocum?
Here.
Mr. Ward?
Absent, excused. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Slocum? Yes. Mrs. Mass?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Next, we will move on to audience community participation.
Approval of the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I skipped ahead. Sorry. We need an approval for the minutes, please.
So moved.
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Slocum?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Mass?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Now to audience community participation. Participants are reminded to state their name, address, and area of concern. And as a reminder, participants are limited to 5 minutes, and we will allow 30 minutes total for all comments. Is there anyone who has anything they'd like to bring to the board this evening?
I'm Melissa Gibney, 920 Bogart Road. Many of you may know that there's a butterfly garden at Woodland. It was actually together back in 2008, and it has thrived over the years with efforts from the school and community members. It provides community service hours for school teams and opportunities for students of the Butterfly Garden Project and leadership to advocate for its continued growth. Huron likes to go big, and so at this point, the Butterfly Garden needs some help to keep maintaining it. So we kind of recruited Dean Rodan to help us with maybe doing some business partnerships. So we kind of were brainstorming the Butterfly Garden. It's a great opportunity for team building between businesses, even the school leadership, even teachers, the workforce, academics. You can incorporate lessons of the monarchs, specifically including the life cycle, journey, and selection of milk seeds. Learn about different flowers and plants. Emotional, the Butterfly Garden can provide an opportunity for gardening and stress relief. Yoga at the Butterfly Garden, guided walking, a calm reading spot even. The community can general maintenance, and we even brainstorm some ideas about having a community vegetable garden or picking your own bouquet. So with the butterfly, success requires tremendous amount of positive energy, just like the butterfly. The task is to focus on building the butterfly, the success of which depends on powerful, positive, and creative efforts and society and alliances built among those engaged in them. So we can definitely incorporate more within the school system and in businesses.
So when Sandy called this summer and said that the garden was overrun and it needed some help, it was really overrun. And but we couldn't really get a lot of kids out there to help, and it just really was kind of a bigger project. So I called a chamber member we had, Greens World. His name's Michael, and he went out there with his guys and donated a couple days worth of time. Am I correct? Weeding it, planting, and everything. And at that point, that's when we started talking about what's the long term to keep this, looking good and getting more volunteers. And it's nice to have a project for the kids to do, but it's also nice to have community members that can help and maybe move it along. So we came up with the idea of the form that was passed around, which is to ask our community members and businesses, individuals and businesses and organizations to consider a $100 donation to help pay for, mulch every year, maybe some tools, get a little shed out there with some tools the community members can use, but also asking them with their donation if they would make this some type of a volunteer project within their company and organization to encourage their employees and members to get out there. So the hope is that we get at least maybe 5 to 10 different businesses or organizations, not just about the money, but where they're kind of like on an email, a distribution that goes out and says, time to clean up the butterfly garden, who's in to go out this day, that day, this day, and get started. So it's really two-sided, and it's always nice. I always feel as a chamber director to get our community involved in anything that has to do with our schools, and this is a great project. So we've talked to Mark. He has a fund that he kind of keeps donations there, so we kind of covered all that. We created a email to the Butterfly Garden so that emails weren't coming all over the school. It came directly to us asking questions and things like that. So,
And a Facebook page.
and a Facebook page. You can arrive on social media. So we just thought it was important to let the board know what's going on. If you have any questions, feel free to contact any of us. If there's any objections, we're happy to definitely review it and take it as it comes.
Thanks so much. Anyone else have anything they'd like to bring before the board this evening? Okay. On to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Several things tonight. I believe all of them, all good. First thing, the November 2nd election. I want to thank the community for the turnout and support that we had. It was fantastic to drive around town that day and see everybody out at the polls, so we appreciate that very much. We didn't get to where we wanted to be on the levy, obviously, but I still feel like regardless of how people vote, they support us. And I wanted to acknowledge that. Also, special thanks to the levy committee for their hard work. They weren't many in number, but they put in a lot of time, and they are still together, and they are still ready to serve the school system. And then finally, I want to welcome our 3 new board members who are in attendance tonight: Stacy Hartley, Stacy Henners, and Dr. Elizabeth LaFave, right in the middle. Welcome. Next is, we haven't had one of these, as Mr. Slocum said, in a while. We have a presentation for Bryce Putman, and his mom and dad are here. Bryce is a National Merit Scholarship semifinalist, which means he is a high school senior. Less than 1% of high school seniors academically in the country can say that. And Bryce is involved in tennis, National Honor Society, and Model UN. So we have a certificate tonight, and we'll have his mom and dad and him up. Snap a photo, please, with you, the board, please, out front. Then they have to go to swim.
Do in front of it, over here.
Guess we should just stay out there.
Oh.
Okay, before we get too comfortable, we have another student honor, Buckeye Channel Sports Network Student of the Month, which goes to a student in Erie County. And that is a Huron student this month, and that is Sean Kaminsky. He's here with his parents tonight. Obviously, to attain this, you have to have not only great grades, but I believe Sean is a track runner, and participates in other activities and preparation that seniors do to get ready to go to college. So Sean, come on up. With your picture.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. No, we're good now. No more pictures.
Oh, no
I know.
more.
Well, yeah, no, we have one more. But I don't think we'll be in it. We'll just
Good.
we'll
Just get them.
So yeah, yeah. So
Photoshop us in.
okay, and as always, we always try to do academics before athletics, but I did want to say that the cross country team closed out fall sports in great fashion. We had 3 runners that qualified at state: Elijah Ruth, Jaden Towns, and Kennedy Schleshman. And also, I want to add that all 3 of them were all academic Ohio student athletes, which means they had to have a 3.5 GPA or better. So the cross country team made us Huron Tigers very proud as they closed out fall sports. Now we're getting ready to start winter sports. And on that note, pretty unique tonight. All the people in the back, that is the BCSN student section of the year. They won the title belt as the best student section, as you can see. I guess I'd like to know how many people were thrown out of events in order to get to this thing. Anybody? Nobody. So you won this. You won this without any ejections whatsoever, which is fantastic. Nothing but the highest form of sportsmanship. That's as long as it's not broken bones, we're good. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you all for coming. Could we get your picture over there? It's all right.
Looks like a WWF belt.
Okay, how about behind us? The photographer changed your mind. Yeah. Always.
You guys didn't dress up for this, though. That's what I'm
They dressed how they come to the event. Maybe even better. I don't know.
They're not in toga sheets.
Right, not in toga. Yeah, hold that belt right in the middle.
Yep. What else did they get from that? Like some kind of scholarship or something?
There might have been a little bit of money associated with it too for the class.
Can they introduce
Yeah,
themselves?
can we?
Yeah, do you guys want to introduce yourselves, Chris?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm actually a football player, but I'm just
It's okay.
I'm Evan Brown. I'm Alan Gresh. I'm a senior. I'm Andy Wolfman. I'm a drummer.
Hello, Lamb.
Oh, thanks.
She's always there filming the student section because they're not at every game watching every student section.
Okay. Last thing in my report is Dr. McDonald is going to review for you the state report card for the 2021 school year. So you have, or she will give you a basic breakdown that she worked on. I think we have a lot to be very proud of with this. We have a few things we want to work on, just like anything else.
I'm gonna sit at the mic so it goes out. We gotta figure out this mic next. So.
I have to say I'll probably get emotional during this because there's a lot here to be excited about. I'm so excited to have kids back at board meetings too. It's great. So what I have handed out is a short synopsis of all the pages of data that we receive. Gosh, I guess it starts rolling in June, and then the final that we get from the state doesn't come back until mid-October when they make it all pretty. And what that is EMIS is getting cleaned up. It's our state reporting. Kids who move districts, their scores have to follow, things like that. So we have a best guess in June, but then it's finalized in October. So before I get in actually to the numbers, though, I kind of want to take a minute to set the stage of the narrative of 2021 and what we're all going through. Get out of here. Sorry. Okay. So the people involved, between our educators, our support staff, our administrative staff, our community partners, and when I say community partners, I mean our neighboring districts that we worked with last year, that we're still continuing to work with, our health department, our counseling services, our faith community, our Second Harvest Food Bank. There was a lot last year that, we saw a lot of good in people come out. And that's what this data is going to show you as a result of all that good. We went through a lot. If you recall, we started in a hybrid. It was modified for some students. We did have some students come certain days of the week. We had Tiger Mondays, if you recall. We had technology glitches. This time last year, we were gearing up for PD next week on Monday and Tuesday, if you remember all of that. Good times. Our union was super supportive in how we pulled all of that off, both unions. So it was very complicated. We were getting bombarded with new information and having to make decisions based on different viewpoints and trying to figure out what is best for kids in a situation that absolutely nobody had ever been through before. It doesn't matter how many education courses you take, leadership courses you take, nobody says, here's how you get through a pandemic, right? So with that, the outcomes. So if you recall, in 2020, we didn't have any spring testing. We shut down, on a Friday, and I think we were supposed to start testing 2 weeks later. We're all like, oh, okay, we're coming back. Then we didn't come back. And the educators have a love-hate relationship with that testing because, you don't want to do it, but you got something to prove. And here's what we're gearing up for. And, we want to be the best. We're competitive around here. It also tells you where to start for the next year. And I felt, as your curriculum director, okay, we're going to start punching holes in this, but we got to start somewhere. So going back to basics, using our STAR data where we could, teacher gut played a lot into this, homemade assessment, things like that. And we got to work right away. We did some summer programming in 2020. Mixed reaction to it. We offered it. Some people wanted it. Some people didn't, and that's fine. There was still a lot of unknowns with COVID at the time. So you try to offer a menu of options, if you will, and see what works. So with that, we did all right. So in this document that I just kind of took all the data and just tried to summarize it in one page. So for those of you watching at home, in the audience, we have ELA in grades 3 through 8. We have ELA in math 3 through 8. We have science in grade 5 and 8. We have algebra, geometry, biology, English language arts 2, American history, and American government. And those data points, out of 24 districts who self-report data, we ranked number 1 in 4 of those areas. We ranked number 2 in 3 of those areas, 4 areas. And we ranked 3rd in another 4 areas. So 50% of those data points, we are in the top 3 out of 24 districts. And I can't be more proud of our staff. And it took everybody. It took a bus driver to get the kids to school. It took the cleaning staff to clean the buildings. It took the teachers to double down and say, this is not working. Can I throw it up? Yep, sure can. Try something else. And, coming 2 days a week in the fall was hard. And it stressed a lot of people out. Our teachers want what's best for kids. And, they came, if you guys remember, to board me and said, can we have our kids back? It was a lot. So other points, our value-added scorers. In some cases, we're very good. We have a couple of areas we need to work on. And we know that, and we've already started working that. But the other data point is when people talk about learning loss, what did the kids lose during this pandemic? I don't know that they did. If you count perseverance, if you count grit and those things that we tried modeling for students, and what we were able to offer this summer, I just came from the real, I went to parent-teacher conferences. We had 4 areas where the test scores outperformed 2019. They maintained or outperformed. It's pretty good. It's very good. We had this summer, because we were afraid, legit, like what does learning loss look like? So we did offer, again, another menu. We switched it up. If you recall, part of our professional development last year and this year has been the Orton Gillingham training. And we have all but one Shawnee member, staff member trained, and we'll be working on that this summer with Woodlands staff as well. The reviews from that have been astounding, especially when you consider these kids were, in our data system, yellow or red. So they're not on track for the 3rd grade reading guarantee. They came out of the summer being on grade level and were able to maintain that. And we're excited to come back from school. I just talked to a couple parents, Katie Mishler as well, that their kids were confident to come in this year. And that is not a learning loss. That confidence is amazing because we can handle the rest. But if they're scared to come to school or not confident, that's something else. So we also did the credit recovery at the high school. Oh, let me go back to Woodlands real quick. At Woodlands, we did the IXL tutoring and the STEAM learning camps. The IXL, Mark's staff did offer it as a test to about 25 students that were receiving titled services or nominated by a teacher. That went over great. The kids could do it online or they could come in, and we had take both options. And then we had the STEAM camp in July, which we would typically do anyway. While all of this is going on, Parks and Recs are in the building. If you drove by some of our buildings this summer, you would have thought school was full session. Parking lots were full, people were doing stuff. And I have to hand it to Denise's crew. All of that's going on while Denise's crew is getting the building ready for the next school year. So constant emails going back and forth. Who's in what side of the building? What floor is getting waxed? Can you put your kids over here? And everybody put the academics in the Parks and Recs program first. So that was awesome. And I have to say, when Holly and I go to meetings and we hear differently from other school districts, Holly and I just look at each other and smile. Because we don't have some of the problems other districts have when it comes to teamwork and getting it done for kids. So all that going on. So we also offer the summer online learning credit recovery for the high school through HVA. So we, Tim and I talked and Denny talked, we left HVA open for students to continue credit recovery. Law says if you keep it open, or if you do offer credit recovery, you have to also offer accelerative options. And so we had a number of students that also participated in that as well and did fine. We also offered summer professional development. So, and we do it in a number of ways. We offer, our professional development committee comes in and offers ideas and suggestions. We have a lot of teacher-led PD in the district these days, which is awesome. And then we also have our staff decides, if they want to take professional development opportunities outside of the district, whether taking graduate coursework, whether doing workshops, those kind of things. And we had quite a few staff members opt into those as well. So they're keeping busy too. So some people ask, do these test results really matter given the context? And I will say yes, I think they do matter, even in a pandemic. It's a data point across the state that we all have. Our neighboring districts, we don't all use the same benchmarking system. We don't all have the same opportunities. The state data gives us a snapshot. Yes, it happens on a single day where the kids take tests. Yes, all of that. But we're also getting snapshots of ACT data, or taking snapshots of attendance data, and all that plays into the whole child. And I can't be more proud of our staff for how they handle it. So they were ready this fall. They came back. John said, no new initiatives. Let's keep it simple. Let's take the good out of the pandemic and really make it good. So we have the one-to-one, and we met with Vincent today. It's going well. The student computers, we haven't had too many breaks, devices. So, 3 months in, that was probably something we should have done sooner, but, with the pandemic money, we were able to make it happen. Happen to the point where we're probably going to have to increase our bandwidth, which is fine. And also, too, we are cruising along with our professional development. So we haven't really, even though we're not taking on any new initiatives, we're finishing things that I don't want to say were put on the back burner to COVID, but didn't probably get all the attention they needed. So we are doing our ruler training, our district SEL team, getting that reconstituted, our district technology group, those kind of things, and coming back and starting to pick up the conversations of where we left off. So lastly, I would say, I would just ask for your continued support of all of our staff. It's the holiday season's picking up, and if you're out and you're like, hey, what should I get an educator for Christmas? Legitimate, no joke. Please tell them thank you. Write them a thank you note. Yes, they would like a cup of coffee too, like nobody's going to turn down coffee, but just to show your support, they are getting it done. And, Holly, Denise, and I are subbing, I don't know, on and off every day. Somebody's going somewhere, whatever. We get to see what they're doing. I personally love subbing. I mean, it's great to see the kids and the teachers, but you really get to see all the things everybody's doing to make it work every day. And we do take it day by day. Like, we'll sit up and text like, hey, what's going on? And, I text Chad, what kind of shoes should I wear to sub in tomorrow? But the teachers really just could use an attaboy and a thank you, because every day they are coming and it's paying off. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was very good. I will say, just to piggyback on that, when Julie said about the testing is one date, but it's still a benchmark that we can line up against other schools. But I think we also saw tonight with the students we had in here that, not only are, they're athletes, they're academic. Our two students we had are both involved in extracurricular academic activities, extracurricular athletic activities. So it's a lot more that we offer and have here than the days of testing. They do a great job that day, but they do a great job every day too. So thank you for presenting that to us. And if anybody has any questions down the road, let us know. Before I wrap up, and it's not on the agenda, but I do want to commend our bus drivers yesterday. We were on the road when all that ice hit, and it was bad. And I got a call at about, I think it was about 10 to 7 about accidents and things. And again, we were on the road, and they did everything they had to do safely, got everyone to school safely. And I really appreciate that, because we had no way of delaying or recalling them when things got bad. And they did a great job. So I wanted to acknowledge that. It was a tough day yesterday. I've never really seen traffic like that in Huron before based on Route 2. So that is all I have for the superintendent's report.
The treasurer recommendations.
Discussion part first.
Oh, treasurer report. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself.
The October financial review. We are 4 months into our fiscal year, and revenues for all funds were at 39.6%, which we should be right around 33%. So we're above in all funds, and the general fund revenue is at 42.2%. Expenditures in all funds are at 31.8%, and general fund is at 31.4%, so we're a little bit under. The unencumbered cash balance for 10/31 was $2,708,000. General fund revenue for October was up a little bit, $67,000 compared to October of 2020, but actual revenue received for 2021 is about 26% more than it was for October of 2020. Little anomaly there. General fund expenses for October 21 were up $113,000 compared to October of 2020, but fiscal to date expenditures were down $78,000 compared to last year. So I think it has to do with payroll and maybe a third pay there. Donations for the month of October, we had a total of $1,076. One for the Mark Esposito Scholarship Fund. We had some for the Athletic Hall of Fame and High School STEAM. Just wanted to let you know, you probably already know, but we received our 2022 Bluebird bus, and it was delivered the last week of October. And I think this is the first bus replacement since 2017. Is that correct? Did I have that date right? But it's been a while. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. Over $16,000 of that bus expenditure was reimbursed by the state. So we did have a little bit of a mini grant to offset some of that. So that's what was an exciting thing. On the federal grant revenue, we had some carryover that Julie alluded to that was reallocated to our new CCIP grants for fiscal year 22. So we'll be working on revising those budgets, getting those carryovers put into the grant guidelines. All of our original ESSER funds, the first grant we got, those are all spent with the exception of a small portion, about $4,200 that is non-publics. So they have a little bit more to spend, but they do have until September 30th of 22 to spend those first grant monies. We did receive 2 activity purpose statements, one for wrestling and one for volleyball, and I've entered those budgets and revenues into those accounts. On the 5-year forecast, let's get into that. This is a semi-annual requirement that's used to help with long-term financial planning for the district. On the revenue side, and I'm pretty much just going to talk about the forecasted side. Historically, I can't change those figures any, but I used updated tax rates per the Ohio Department of Taxation in the forecast. And fiscal year 22 includes an increase of approximately 10% in valuation from the triennial evaluation from the county auditor's office. Contacted John Rogers at the office, and he said that that's a good percentage we should use as treasurers for all of Erie County. House Bill 110, the Fair School Funding Plan, is being phased in for fiscal year 22 and 23. We haven't said anything about that funding beyond that, but there's no plan or any planning in place to do what's going to be beyond that. So we're kind of just holding still with what's being done now. The new funding was scheduled to be reflected in our July 1st state foundation payment, but it's already been pushed back to the December 1st state foundation payment, but it should cover the whole year. The transfers for open enrollment or community school students are no longer being treated as transfer. They're being treated as, if you go to this community school, then you get the funding. So those in and out funds are not going to be happening like they were. Line 106, which is all other revenues, reflects this change in funding with an approximately $701,000 less received in tuition for hearing, because that's what we receive. So that number has drastically gone down because of the way the funding is going to be. But it's also changing on the expenditure side. So on the expenditure side, for personal services, only step increases were included for fiscal year 24, 25, and 26 because the union contracts are done as of 23. There was a little bit of extra for 20. Purchase services are, like I just said, are also affected by House Bill 110 in that tuition for open enrollment in community schools is not reflected in the 400 objects, which is personal services. So, and then you can see on line 402, we had a last principal payment, interest payment in fiscal year 22 with, and then there's an additional interest payment in fiscal year 23, and then that debt has gone away. Other expenditures for supplies, materials, capital outlay, and miscellaneous other objects are forecast with historical patterns that I've noticed in years. In all of the years of the forecast, the district is expected to deficit spend, beginning with $139,000 in fiscal year 22 to $2,036,000 in fiscal year 26. The other thing I wanted to remind everything that a forecast is a working document, is continually changing, and is only as good as tonight when I'm presenting it, because tomorrow I might find something else new and exciting or not exciting. So that always needs to be in the back of your mind when you're looking at a forecast, that it could change dramatically depending on what the legislature might do, or student ADM suddenly decreases or increases, those kinds of things. So that's an important part of the forecast, is to know that. again, this is a semi-annual thing. This is our November submission that needs to be in by November 30th, and then it will be looked again in May of. So.
On then to treasurer report. I'm sorry, recommendations. I'm on the wrong thing. Sorry. Treasurer recommendations.
The first that I would recommend is to approve the financial statement for the close of business for October 31st, 2021 per the reports that I just shared with you. Do you want me to just keep going? Okay. And then item B is the 5-year forecast. I recommend that you approve this 5-year forecast as presented. Item C, we talked about the donations. It was a total of $1,076, and it was all in cash. We didn't have any in-kind donations for October. And then the 2 purpose statements and budgets for fiscal year 22 for wrestling and volleyball. I left item E on there. There's no action, but I wanted to just kind of give you a idea that there is one contract that we're working out there. The copier contract is up in August of 22, so we're working on that, and there's always some that we're looking at, but I didn't want to forget that that's on there. So, but we don't actually have any for this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
It was just one time a year. It used to be October 31st it was due by, and then 2 years ago they moved it to November 30th. Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Slocum?
Yes.
Mrs. Mass?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Next are superintendent recommendations.
Thank you. Item A is recommended to approve certified substitutes for the 21-22 school year, and you can see on your agenda the 3 certified individuals there and their rates. Item B is recommended to approve classified substitutes for the 21-22 school year. And again, we have 3 individuals on your agenda. One I'm happy to say is a substitute bus driver. That warms my heart, as well as Mrs. Zilski's. Item C, recommend to approve athletic supplementals. We have 3 individuals again for athletic supplementals. A football assistant, middle school boys 7th grade basketball, middle school boys 8th grade basketball, all of whom are alumni, I might add, on there. Item D, recommend to approve new hires for the 21-22 school year. And we have a few individuals, another three on here. We have Mr. Mark Craig coming over from Vermillion as our mechanic to fill the huge shoes of Steve Zeck. And we're very happy to have found a mechanic. Though that is not an easy. Mrs. Zilski told me today that we posted this on a couple of the state sites and had no applicants, but she knew Mr. Craig from her days at Vermillion. So we also have a percussion supplemental and 2-hour aid position coming in. E, recommend to approve change of placement on the certified schedule. We usually have one of these every month due to additional schooling. This case goes to an MA plus 20, effective in January. Item F is to recommend to approve non-paid days, and we have 5 non-paid days for Tracy Gadd. Typically, this is something when we bring somebody on board where they have some pre-planned trips before they were hired, things you can't necessarily get out of. And, that is it for that particular set of recommendations and personnel.
So moved.
Any discussion, questions? Okay.
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Slocum? Mrs. Mass?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Right. We will go on to number 10, girls and boys indoor track.
And this is a recommendation to approve indoor track for the 21-22 school year. I saw Coach Lampin in the other day, and things are up and running in that regard.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay,
Mr. Slocum?
Yes.
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Mass?
yes.
Motion passed.
Number 11, school volunteers.
We have 3 school volunteers on the list: Elizabeth Sparks, Jessica Bartlett, and Ann Link.
So moved.
Any discussion? Questions? Okay,
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Slocum?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Mass?
yes.
Motion passed.
Number 12, Huron Public Library.
Yes, we have recommendation to approve Karen Seibel for the as a trustee to the Huron Library Board.
So moved.
Questions, discussion?
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Slocum?
Yes.
Mrs. Mass?
Yes.
Motion passed.
We are now at number 13, board committee reports. Anyone have any board committee reports they would like to share?
Nothing. I'll just look for the new ice skating rink. That's gonna be exciting, I think. Skates out? Yeah, I think we'll find some skates. Yeah. So out of state in park. That's kind of new, kind of exciting. Oh, yeah.
Coming, Winter
Absolutely.
Fest?
I guess I should slow down a little bit. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. They put some energy into it. Kind of excited about getting getting a good crowd.
Are we
Stand.
Are you having fireworks again this year?
Yes.
Okay. Great. All right.
I do have one thing. I'll put on my hat as president of the Friends of the Huron Public Library and publicly thank Mr. Lamb and 4 of the members from the National Honor Society who moved 90 cases of hardcover books from the basement to the first floor of the library, because we actually found somebody were buying them in bulk now that have book sales. And he sent me 4 young ladies, and I was like, okay, you know what this means. Boy, they went right to work and moved all those boxes in record smile and laughing the whole time. So on behalf of the Friends of the Library and obviously the school board, I want to thank you, and that was great help. So
Are there soon for Tiger Grants? Yep, looking forward to that.
And Patty Hobie looking into a new program area next year, which would be HVAC, desperate need for people that can work in heating, air conditioning. And then also we're looking at, this would start in adult ed, but a series of classes for people to become linemen, like for Ohio Edison. There's quite a shortage of people with those skills, and so I guess there's a school that does a training down like Dayton, Cincinnati area, maybe like Toledo and Cleveland, but nothing right here. And a lot of those positions start at like $75,000 a year. So that would be an excellent program for local people to take some classes and, make a decent salary, and then they can jump up to like $85,000 fairly quickly. And they don't up the poles anymore; they're all in buckets. None of that strap moving up and like they did in the old days. So, a lot of forward thinking as to what our area needs in the form of trades and moving ahead.
Else? Okay. Is there any new business to be brought before the board this evening? No? Okay. We will be having an executive session this evening. We do not anticipate action after the executive session. We will be entering executive session to consider the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual. I need a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Slocum, Mrs. Mast.
Yes.
Motion passed.
We go down to the conference room.
Just for completeness, our next board meeting will be December 21st at 6 p.m. Yeah,
Oh.
just because we're not anticipating any action.
We don't wanna announce that board meeting. Friday.
We do have a work session board meeting this Friday at 3 o'clock. That'll be in the paper and open to the public, obviously. Yes, it will be here in this room.
So are we staying here?
No, we're going downstairs.